Hi, my name is Paul Shore, and welcome back to The Street Speaks, a spontaneous speaker's corner for Montrealers. This week, Montreal First Nations are speaking out about what we can all truly do to address reconciliation. Some share stories of their changing relationship with their religions, and others share concrete steps we can all take to better engage in our communities and our politics. Also ahead, Street Speaks band, Skinny Bros, and I've invited back up onto the Street Speaks soapbox, singer-songwriter Kira Shaughnessy. What role does religion play in your life?
I think life is often a mystery, and you cannot foresee what happened in the next moment.
I only know about prayer. Is we have to pray and we have to love each other and we have to be kind to each other.
So the best thing is to hold on to something, to know the unknown is much more in confidence, much more in control, and much more in tranquility.
And sometimes we walk in, somebody don't need money, they don't need it, but they just want somebody to listen to what they. You know how many times I'm walking and somebody will come to me and say, you know something, I have somebody dying in the hospital. I need somebody to pray for me now, to just give me a word of encouragement. Sometimes a person just needs little encouragement, nothing more.
C'est la paix avec celui qui m'a créé. Peace with Allah, with my God.
And a lot of people, when I tell them that I'm Jewish, they all ask me why am I black. To be Jewish, it's just a religion. It's not like it doesn't matter your color of your skin or anything. It's just a religion.
Because Islam, it's peace. Islam, it means peace and submit to who created you. That's it. And the hijab, it was my choice, not my husband's choice or my kids or my parents. No, c'est symbole de soumission. It's like Jewish and Christian, they were, that's it.
But I really have a lot of trust in God. Not always, but when it comes down to it, yes.
I think it's tried to control my behavioral movement to be much more focused on the good side of human nature and good things, to serve other people, to be self-denier, to be much more unselfish, to care for the needs of other people.
Because me, I smile to everybody and I help everybody. I don't mind the religion, if you are Jewish or Christian. It's not my business. My business is to help you, to be nice, to smile with everybody. That's it. I think, yes, it's very hard.
Especially like poverty, a shelter, and also clothing, which is a great guy needs in big cities in North America and around the world.
It's it's difficult to live from your family and to be stigmatized like we are,
It's painful.
Yes, it's painful, very. Yes, it make us very.
And things may not be exactly as I'd like them to be. They may be a little ugly sometimes in the city, inside of us. But I think that's just part of the whole process and the whole game. And that does inspire us. And God is already inspiring us to become greater and to make the change that we want to see.
When I sleep very quiet. But sometimes I cry because I say the day after, I don't know who I meet, what I will hear. This is a life. It's a...
Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you. Merci de m'avoir donné l'occasion de m'exprimer.
Merci beaucoup. I'm very happy to welcome back to the show the Street Speaks band, Skinny Bros. We live in a bit of a bubble here. I'm sure you understand that more than most people.
Yeah. I think I would offer concrete ways for people to engage and participate in service.
311 is something every Montrealer should know about. It's how you report the things you see around you municipally. If there's
A pothole
on your street, or the construction happened but they left their sign, that sign gets picked up if you call 311 and you get put on a list.
How many people use 311?
Not enough.
No one, eh?
Well, people bitch and complain. Sorry, I can't swear.
No,
but,
you are. You're allowed to swear. It's community television.
Really?
Yeah, you can swear.
That's awesome.
In Rwanda, I said we have a whole weekend where some people do it on Sunday, they do it on Saturday, but the whole community come together at the grassroots level to just clean the streets in front of their house. Here we have relegated that responsibility to the government. Obviously the government gets to decide which puddle gets fixed between here and my way to work. There's this total disengagement on things that actually matter and affect our day-to-day life.
What about 811? I'm sorry for interrupting. Like 311, 811.
What's 811?
811 is info santé. Like if you
They're not very well advertised, these, are they?
I know. If you are having trouble thinking if you should bring your 4-year-old kid to the emergency room, call Info Santé on the way to the... And you can save yourself 6 hours waiting in the emergency room, and you can instead wait till 6 a.m. when a clinic opens in the morning, because it's not an emergency, and the person on 811 told you that.
But if I was the Prime Minister, the way to bring the country back together, rebuild the culture of service. Create a service corps where everybody is eligible and they can serve to the best of their abilities. The young people can be part of this volunteer corps that can be deployed to solve all kinds of problems in the world, and the elders can actually contribute from where they stand.
So how does Montreal distribute information?
Through like different, very few medium.
That should be a very straightforward answer.
Yeah.
That should be one website and one pamphlet that gets sent out that you can direct to an info point. Like when you go to Disney World, there's a eye in the sky that literally you go to when you don't know where you're going. And there should be that for municipal politics in general, and that doesn't exist right now.
I think Montreal is, if you compare, Montreal is very European, multicultural, and very diverse.
Yeah, I don't think you can walk down the street in Montreal and not notice multiculturalism. I don't even see it as something that, I do value it. I think inherently I value it, but I don't even see it as something that needs to be valued. It's just something that is, and it's great. And I don't even think of it anymore as I live in a multicultural city. I just think of it as I live in Montreal.
We have such a mosaic of cultures that it's honestly almost like pioneering the way for mixing, mixing children and races, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, what's your background?
My father's from Trinidad. He lives there actually, and my mother, she's like a Montreal. Her father was like Russian Jew, I think, and her mother was British, or is British.
Well, I'm interested in all cultures. It's not even like about, oh, where's my mom from, where's my dad from. I'm just embracing, especially here in Montreal. It's like I wasn't born into or raised into a specific thing. It was just really open.
Every person I come across who is of mixed ethnicity, I think, make the most attractive people, number one. And it's not black or white, it's gray. It's gray for everyone.
You're a real Montrealer, right?
I'm a Montrealer.
You're like a Heinz, what do you call it?
I have no idea, but I wake up in the morning, I get my May West, my Pepsi, my bagel, I get a...
You have all the different cultures represented?
Yeah, exactly. Roti for lunch, I'm good.
So I feel like that's how my generation is raised. We don't really care about that. We just like to meet new people and learn new things.
And that's something else. I mean, in education, that's, I guess, important to pass on and hard to pass on when you take for granted that this is a multicultural city. You know, students, whether it's at the school I teach at or any other school I've taught at, they don't get around as much as adults do, right? So they are still in their communities. They are still kind of sheltered maybe from different areas of Montreal.
As I speak Russian and other languages, I'm learning Greek, Portuguese, Turk, and beside my French. So I was very pleased to learn more other languages. And I think I've become more cosmopolitan living in Montreal.
Part of the challenge as well is to open them up to the different cultures that are in the city, and whether that's teaching in the Anglophone sector and opening them up to the Francophone part of Montreal, which you know, they tend to have a hard time with, or vice versa. If you're in a Francophone school, open them up to the Anglophone or Allophone parts of the city.
64 years of multiculturalism is a very long time to not take it for granted. We've come to that point where we've taken our differences for granted, and it's time to actually reinvest in knowing one another.
I'm very proud to welcome back to the Street Speak Soapbox singer-songwriter Kira Shaughnessy.
There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground, and we have only one life to discover how. And now I know why the caged bird sings, 'cause through my voice I was given wings. And every day I dance with the leering ghosts of every woman's eyes that have looked into mine with a helpless hope, asking, why do I feel so old? And why, after centuries have gone by, are our bodies still being bought and sold? Why? Oh, why? There's a river of birds in migration, a nation of women with wings. There's a river of birds in migration, a nation of women with wings. And we are leaving, we are leaving, we are leaving, we are leaving. We are leaving behind a civilization that finds its strength on the bent backs of our mothers, our sisters, our lovers. Are leaving the homes of the self-proclaimed masters, still so convinced they own us, body and soul. But we are leaving behind the whole history of a mankind built on the bones of a billion forgotten, murdered women, shedding the shackles of fear and shame to let our flames grow into the wildfires that once burned bright in the eyes of every earth child. We are walking out the doors of institutions and homes made prisons by the abuser's waiting hand and the traps of a damaged language laced with the premises of dominance. We are leaving. And there's a river of birds in migration, a nation of women with wings. There's a river of birds in migration, a nation of women with wings. There's a river of birds in migration, a nation of women with wings. And we are leaving, we are leaving, we are leaving, we are leaving.
a soapbox to speak to your neighbors, your citizens. This might sound corny, but what do you say to them?
Well, if I had enough time, I would probably talk to them about residential school and the 60s scoop. I would talk to them about my own experience being adopted, and give them a little bit of glimpse of what the ramifications are of what the government did.
I go to universities and I'm like, so when did residential school start? And people yell out 1970, and I'm like, oh my God, no, not 1970, like 1763. That's when they started. People don't know. So get educated, read the TRCs, look into the past,
Can we reconcile our past?
We're going to have to. We owe it to these people. We destroyed their culture. We tried to anyway. They've managed to survive it.
If people are still scared of us, there's not going to be openness to understanding who we are. So the non-Aboriginal community, I challenge you. I challenge the non-Aboriginal community to come and talk with us, not ask us where are your feathers. What's happened?
They're now an ongoing political force that we have to recognize what we did to these people. It was like genocide, simply put.
We can be a better country because as an immigrant, to me, Canada represents a great deal of hope.
Now we're paying for it, and we gotta pay big. I don't care, whatever it takes. We have to make friends with these people. I mean, they're living up north in hovels, for Christ's sake, as we speak.
There was no rocket science to my mother's reflection on why and where to send. If I came here, I could leave. If I came here, so many possibilities were lying in front of me.
Well, I would ask, that the Native organizations get increased funding for the work that they need to do. There's a lot of work for us to do, especially with youth protection. I know that's my biggest challenge right now is I need more money for a lot of our children go into care.
It's scary to think that there are some Indigenous children who can actually not make the same claim.
We need a child advocate. We need someone that goes into the court systems and tells the Aboriginal woman what her rights are and fights for those children and creates programs so we can keep the families together. That's what we need. We need more dollars for more programming because our funding gets cut right, left, and center.
It's embarrassing. It's just huge. It's an embarrassment to humanity.
And what I've realized too is, as Native people, we want the same thing as non-Native people. Our values are family. Our values are our culture, our traditions, safety, education, employment. We want to be able to provide for our kids. We want to be able to give them a safe environment. We want love. We want affection. We want everything. It's just the human experience is acceptance and understanding and belonging, and that's everywhere. So.
I spent some time in my early teens going to church. What did I know? I mean, my upbringing was such that I was to be seen and not heard.
When did you
become an atheist, basically?
Yeah, you probably weren't raised atheist.
When I realized that basically no matter how much you pray for all the bad things in your life to go away, it just doesn't happen.
So I was never able to develop the question, or any question. So I kind of floated through life,
Do you believe in God?
Yes, but I wouldn't say that I'm like a practicing religious person, no.
Do you have any connection to your Judaism? Were you raised Jewish?
Yes.
Okay. So, at a bar mitzvah and stuff?
I had a bar mitzvah at 13. I used to do Shabbat.
Yeah.
But I don't anymore.
And there I was, 13 or 14. I was confirmed in the Anglican Church. And it required me to get on my knees and have the Archbishop or some flunky put his hands on me. It's called a laying on of hands, which welcomed me into the church, and then I could have communion. Well, I sit at the back of the church waiting for the call, waiting for something beyond myself, and it never came.
Do you feel it's an important part of your identity, or just culturally?
My parents are really, really like, how would you say, religious
Observant?
and conservative with.
How observant?
The preacher was a kind of, I don't know, he was a hangover from some British, a kind of philosophy. And it was very hard-nosed stuff, waving flags and talking about heroes and the war and the whole 9 yards. Anyway, I got tired of the whole business.
My dad was a kippah. Most of my brothers wear it still, but not often. I don't know. I don't eat pork.
You're like me, you're a confused Jew.
Yeah.
Do you believe in God?
I don't what? I did all of that. I'm an atheist, pure and simple. I mean, it's the only bloody reasonable thing to do. We can't deal with this stuff anymore. It's like we're waiting for 2,000 years for the coming of Christ. I mean, if Christ came back today, we'd probably put him up against the wall and shoot him. Or put him in jail or some goddamn thing, or beat him on the head.
So how long have you been Aboriginal?
You know what? No, that's all right. That's a good question. That's a good.
It's a joke.
But you know what? You're right in a way, because I was not raised Aboriginal at all.
Oh, how were you adopted?
No, I wasn't also, but the reserve that I was born on, and I lived in until I was 4 years old, very, very poor reserve. And what happened was, it was right next to an Air Force base. So what happened was, a way off the res life was for the women of the res to meet Air Forcemen and marry and get off that, get out of that life.
No, I went to Catholic school.
Oh, right.
And then then I went to Dawson, and I survived Dawson, and then I went to Concordia.
Survived. Were you stereotyped?
No, they survived me, actually, because that was when I kind of...
Both parents are Native. My mother is Soto, and my father is Ojibwe. But what happened was, so my mother married a non-Native guy, an Air Forceman, and we started moving all over the country.
I started hanging around here. I was 17, 18, and I started hanging around like the Native bars and stuff because I wanted to, meet people, and that's when I actually started to drink.
We lived out in Calgary. We lived on some small radar bases in Manitoba. We ended up in Ottawa in 1980, and then I moved here in 1990, and I've been here ever since.
I was very, very conscious of the fact that both my parents had been alcoholics, so I was very always conscious of that. And I would see my community members just pass out. And
it was only when I really moved to Montreal that I got to see the Native community. I started going to the Native Friendship Center in Montreal.
Part of me was embarrassed, but part of me was also concerned. I never wanted to be seen like that, ever. I never wanted to perpetuate that. So I hung out with my friends and stuff, but I always, I think, in the back of my head, didn't want to be a stereotype. So I went to school.
Because my mother was raised not to be proud of it. So if anyone ever guessed...
Be ashamed?
Yeah. I mean, she wasn't from residential school. Neither of my parents went to residential school, luckily.
In my non-Native community, in my non-Native life, they saw me as an Indian. But I wanted to be a part of that. So I became very able to... I was like a chameleon. I was able to speak Hebrew and then speak Tagalog and then go to church. And
whenever somebody would ask her what she was, they'd ask her if she was Filipino, or they'd mistake her for whatever kind of nationality it was. She would always say no. She would never correct them though. She would never say, well, because she wasn't proud of being Native.
But then when I was with my community, when the people found out that people found out that I was raised by non-Natives, and I went to university, I went to school, and I didn't have a drinking problem or a drug problem, or all of a sudden they were like, oh, you think you're better than us.
Well, what have I done basically having to research it myself, and speaking to other people. I've had to learn how to sing certain songs just from other people that sing.
You're not Native.
They judged you.
You're not native. You don't speak your language. You don't do this. You didn't know. You don't know how to hunt. You don't know how to fish. You don't know how to do this. And
learn how to dance. Funny things like that. That you think that it was just inherent knowledge as a native, but you'd have to watch them and go, okay, little step, big step. Because you'd feel silly, like, oh my God, I don't know how to dance.
For some people, unless I speak Inuktitut and be able to build igloos and go, it's never going to be enough.
All these other people that were on the reses until they moved here, they had all this, they've had this in their culture. Yeah. So they had this big step up on me.
And I have to be okay with who I am, and especially becoming a mother. I realize that as long as my kids are okay, then I'm okay. And if, I want to teach them too, that because they have French. My son and my daughter, their father was French, and my youngest one is non-native. I said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who your parents are. You have to be okay with yourself.
That wraps up another edition of The Street Speaks. Thank you, Montrealers, for sharing, and thank you for watching. A special thank you to Soapbox veteran Kira Shaughnessy and to house band Skinny Bros. If you want to get in touch with me, don't be shy. I can be reached at thestreetspeaks514@gmail.com, and you can also find us on Facebook and on Twitter. Join me next week as Montrealers are speaking out in defense of texting and in defense of calling. Some are sharing stories with me about how they manage their complicated interpersonal relationships, and a Rwandan Canadian shares his story, his incredibly inspiring story, and how we can't really afford to continue taking what we have here for granted. Also, local comic David Pride returns to our soapbox. See you next time.
My name is Naguset, and you are watching The Street Speaks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.